So you're under contract on a home. You've been shopping, you've gone through the process of the pre-approval with your lender, you've done all the documents. Hopefully you've worked with a good lender that has really done their due diligence and really bothered you up front for a lot of documentation so that you only have to provide a little bit now that you're under contract, because things start moving a little quicker, get a little stressful for the buyers. So you're under contract and you're wondering what's next. There are a few steps that are going to be coming your way to be prepared for. First is you're going to deposit earnest money. And what earnest money is, basically you're showing your serious intent to buy the property. So it's money that you basically are like, dibs, I want this, here's my money, and they give it back to you. Not them personally, but you'll wire it to the title company who kind of holds all funds. They disperse funds. We'll get more onto the title company a little bit, but they hold the funds for you in an escrow account, and then at closing, the money comes back from you. Usually your earnest money deposit is 1% of the purchase price. That is variable. It can depend on the seller. You can negotiate smaller if you don't have those funds quite yet. Maybe you're waiting for a gift or the sale of your home, something like that. So it can be negotiated down, but all that to say, you do get it back, and that's within 3 days that you need to make that earnest money deposit, or they will not take it off the market. The next thing, inspection. Inspections are really important. I always recommend that my clients get one. It is optional in most cases. The only reason you wouldn't is because you don't want to pay. Usually it's around $700 in my area, and I'm in Colorado Springs and Denver, Pueblo. I'm kind of all throughout that area in Colorado, and that's typically the average. And I see most people put it on a credit card. It's a risk, yes. Maybe they don't find anything great, but if they do find something, they can save you a lot of money down the road if there's something wrong with the foundation. The foundation of your home is the home itself. So if you have a cracked foundation and you can't see it with the naked eye, but an inspector can go in there and find it for you, you'll be really happy you spent that money. The inspector is something that you choose on your own. Usually your agent will have a good one in mind. Your lenders have connections too, so they'll always help guide you, but you might know someone you want to use, so that is your choice. After the inspection, if they find anything, you go back to the sellers asking if they're willing to fix any issues. You guys come to some sort of agreement and you have a resolution. After the inspection resolution, that's when your appraisal happens. So an appraisal is basically, inspection is protecting you as a client in the purchase of this home. The appraisal, however, is more protecting the lender, and it's protecting their collateral. What are we lending on? What kind of structure are we lending on? Is it worth the money that we're offering? So if you get an appraisal and it comes in less, so saying this house is worth less than you're paying, they're not going to lend you that full amount, because we're not going to give you more money than what the house is worth. So you have an appraisal, and either it can exceed value, which is the best place to be, because they're not going to up the purchase price and you've just got, maybe it's $10,000 in equity because the appraisal came back $10,000 more than the purchase price. Or it's met value, also great. It's like one of those things. If you go to Vegas and you don't lose anything, you've still won. Or it can come in less, which is not ideal. Paperwork needs to be redrawn up, and your loan needs to change because you're not going to get as much money as the original purchase price. So you have the appraisal done, you had the inspection, you have the appraisal done, he's come back, let's say it's met value, and everything's good. So now is when you'll probably start hearing again from your lender. Hopefully your lender has done their due diligence up front and really annoyed you and has gotten so many documents, you're like, what else could they need? But now what we're doing is we're sending it for final approval or clear to close. I'm sure you've heard it called. If you are new in understanding of the process, that's a pretty common term, clear to close, and you're like, what does that mean? It means that your loan and all of your documents have been final approved. So when you went in the beginning and we gave you a pre-approval, let's saying, yes, we looked through all your documents, should be good. Come closer to the time though, we're going to need to make sure you still have the money for your down deposit. Make sure you still have your job and you haven't gone out and opened a new credit card or bought a car or a unicorn or whatever it may be. So we're making sure everything's still in line, and then we submit it to the underwriters. So think of your lender as we're your lawyer, and we have to button everything up in this neat package to present to the judge, who's the underwriter. We need you to be honest with us, show us everything. We're going to just sift through, comb through, and really be the detective on this so that you and I win this case together. So I'm your lawyer, get all this information. I say, okay, now I need your 30-day last bank statements, your last pay stub, and there might be more. It's very, very common for underwriters to say, hey, like, I see this tiny little thing. Can you confirm that it's all good to go? It could be something as silly as, I've had it once where there was a $35 difference in child support. $35 isn't a lot, you know, but why did they make less than their average amount? Why did they make $35 less? That's a big deal to an underwriter, because is that likely to continue, or are they likely to get the same amount that they've been getting? So you'll find they might find little things like that hopefully your loan officer has already seen, so that when you're under contract and you're going towards closing, these things aren't coming up and we're not having the stress there. So that's why a good lender will really, really sift through the beginning. You can go online and get, a pre-approval from an online lender. I don't recommend it, because usually they look at maybe one credit score and you give them your documents, but they haven't looked through it, and they're like, oh, you're pre-approved, and then you go under contract and they're like, actually, we can't fund this because XYZ, because there's no one on the other side actually looking through all those documents. So I just went on a complete tangent, but you've gone through the appraisal, and now you're waiting for final documents and everything to be cleared to close. Clear to close is like music to our ears in the real estate world. It's like, oh, okay, loan's done. Great. Phew, that was a big portion of it. And it caused a lot of stress for us too. It's like something comes from the underwriter, and now we have to go back to the buyer and be like, I'm so sorry, we need this one last thing, but we're on the same side. So you got your clear to close. That's awesome. Last thing is you will do a walkthrough, make sure if like there were things that were found in the inspection that the sellers agreed to fix, that they've actually fixed it. So you go back, you do the walkthrough, like, yep, everything looks good. And then you go to the closing table, which is held at a title company. Now, the title company is what holds funds. So when you wire your earnest money and you wire or bring a cashier's check for your closing costs, it's going to go to the title company. And the title company is basically the one that closes the deal for us. Everyone kind of crowds in there and they sign the documents, and you sign your mountain of paperwork. Or you have a hybrid closing, like we do a lot, where you've signed a lot online, so your hand's not cramping at closing. You just have to sign a handful of things in like a wet signature at closing. That's always ideal to do a hybrid if you can. But you get the clear close, you go to the title, and everything is signed. Now, the last step is the wiring of the funds. You want to get with your bank. If you're wiring funds, you want to get with your bank before day of, because I've seen it to where there was like, maybe it's going to be 3 days before that wire is actually cleared over to the title company. And if that's the case and you get to closing table and they haven't received your money, you don't get the keys. And it's unlikely that happens, but it does happen. I've seen it happen actually this month, and everything was okay. It cleared the next day, but it's kind of disappointing. You're ready for closing and you have to wait a day because your funds are up in the air somewhere. Also, be really aware of wire fraud. Wire fraud is very much a real thing. Don't ever take, if you get an email with instructions on how to wire, always confirm. Pick up that phone, call the title company. I always give my borrowers, like, here's the title company's number that I have. Here's the agent that you are working with directly. Get that person on the phone. Get directions verbatim from them. Repeat the number back so you're wiring to the correct location. If you can, cashier's check is much safer, but most title companies don't accept anything over $25,000 in the form of a cashier's check. So if you do have to wire, it can totally be done and done very safely, but just be really cautious that don't take anything over online. The lender or the title company should never be sending you instructions online. If they do, always, especially the lender, never the lender. But if you get anything online or over the email, call them directly and speak to the person that is in charge of your file. So I hope this helps. It gets really crazy towards the end. There are some disclosures that come out from the lending side. I'll make that another one because that's a whole other thing. But just some steps to expect after you've gone under contract. You have some final hurdles to get over and cross that finish line. Your lender and agent usually are a team. I always try to make sure I'm on the same team. We're all on the same team. Seller side, buyer side, lender side. Whatever it is, title. Everyone's working on for the same goal, to get you into that home and make sure you're happy. So always reach out, ask the questions. There are no small questions. Might be your first time doing it, might be your 10th, and you might not remember because you don't do this every day. So never feel frightened to ask a question. If you have questions about your particular situation or are looking for some sort of breakdown of the steps, I'd be happy to send you something and tailor it to your circumstance, because yours might be different. So I love this stuff. I love to be a resource and nerd out. So please ask all the questions. I hope everyone's having a great day and had a very happy and safe 4th of July celebration last week.